All right, now it's time. This is going to get talked about, debated, and contemplated, but please know that this list of college football teams and how they are ranked by me is 100% right down the center. This is as a third-party objective source. I did not allow my personal relationships with some of the teams that are on this list interfere with how I truly feel about college football. I wouldn't do that.
No, of course not.
I wouldn't say, hey, my number 4 team, the Minnesota Gophers. I wouldn't say that strictly because PJ Fleck came on our show last week and this week. I wouldn't say that because he gave a motivational speech to our show that almost made all of us neckton through a wall. I'm saying that because whenever they had the spotlight on them this past weekend against the Penn State Nittany Lions, who were in the top 4, they showed up and played their best game. This is a team that is all in for PJ Fleck. This is an entire state that is ready to go to the church of PJ Fleck. This team has athletes. This team has a right tackle that is 6'9", 400 pounds, hailing from Australia. They have size, they have athleticism, and they're all in. That's tough to beat. When a team is all in, when everybody's rowing the boat in the same direction, you can be an elite team. And the Minnesota Gophers are that. They're undefeated. Sky you ma. Number 3, I have the Clemson Tigers. Rex Ryan had a hilarious quote on Get Up on Monday. He said, PJ Fleck and the Gophers, go on and row your boat right down to Clemson. You get beat by 40. That's hilarious. That's a great quote. Rex Ryan makes me laugh on a very regular occasion. His kid went to Clemson, so he has an affinity for Clemson. And Clemson being out of the top 4 last week was a joke. We all knew that. We all knew that was a joke. To be the man, you got to beat the man. They're the national champions. Trevor Lawrence is just starting to find his groove again. They're starting to pick people apart, and they got athletes all over the place. They're a really good team, going to be in the playoff. Excited to watch them perform again because that national championship game was a thing of beauty. It looked like we were watching an NFL team, and they had a freshman quarterback. Number 2, I have the Ohio State Buckeyes. Chase Young suspended for 4 games, 2 games, 10 games, 6 games?
4 games as of right now.
Now, he said that all he did was rent money, loan money, or get money to fly his girlfriend to the Rose Bowl. If that's all it was, and he paid it back by cutting lawns or whatever he did to get the money back to pay the person back, I would like it to be known that he should only be out no games. He should be out no games for this. This is the problem with college football. They're starting to turn over a new leaf, right? Allowing players to make money off their likeness, their name, things like that. That's not happening for a couple years. You got to remember, this NCAA as an organization is a very old school organization. So to get any little turn of the page on the amateurism thing, a word that they made up that they used to use as an excuse for everything. Well, why can't Pat White go sign his name and make $20 off that? Amateurism. Well, you can't use a word that you made up to me. Like you can't use a word that you made up to me to be the reason why something can't happen. They're kind of turning a new leaf, or turning over a new leaf, a new page in their mindset towards that with the law that's coming in with the likeness and things like that. Will that hold true for this Chase Young case? The best player on defense in football? I don't think it matters, by the way. Penn State or Ohio State, Minnesota are on a crash course. And that is not good news for me because I got them both in the top 4 right now. But I like the way the Big Ten is shaping up. Justin Fields is so damn good. They can hang 100 on people if they want to every time if they would like to.
They won 73-14 this weekend, and now they're 52-point favorites coming into this weekend.
That's what I'm saying. And they ran an onside kick that was just a thing of beauty against Maryland where the kicker just blooped it over to their right gunner. Or their number 1, not gunner. People say there's a gunner on a kickoff team like I just did. That's not right. That's number 1. I've done that 2 times in my career, both in college and in the NFL. It's a beautiful kick. It's not easy to do. People are like, why'd they waste it against Maryland? Good question. I'm not sure you can do that kick again. That kid's probably very talented, but to do that, to have that connect and have the amount of touch to land it without it going out of bounds or going too low, I mean, that's a beautiful kick. Will they be able to do it again? Probably not. People have to prepare for it, but that's why you do it against a team like Maryland because if he kicks it out of bounds, it's Maryland. Maryland didn't deserve that. But they are not in my top 600. Number 1 team. They didn't deserve that either. Number 1 team is a team that the world fell in love with. Whenever you go to a place like Alabama and get a win on their turf and then rub it in their face Whether it's the players running down to the recruits like, hey, you want to win, come on down to Louisiana. Then breaking down the entire team in the middle of the Alabama football field. And then in the locker room, the stream live that shouldn't happen, obviously, and I don't want the kid to get in trouble, so I didn't reference it yet because I don't want to make that big of a deal of it. But Coach O giving a motivational speech to his team in a celebratory manner saying, roll tide, fornicate you. I love what that team's cooking down there. Joe Burrow is an absolute stud. Absolute stud. He's an athlete, too. Guy was all Ohio or Mr. Basketball in Ohio. Mm-hmm. He can run. He makes good plays. He has good leadership. The team loves him. He's the number one pick in the draft, it feels like. What's that?
When do people start feeling bad for him that he's probably going to have to go play for the Bengals?
Now's that time. Hey, Joe Burrow, enjoy the hell out of this run in the SEC. Yeah. Enjoy the hell out of that big win against Alabama. Your team looks good. You look like you can make every play. In my eyes, number one team in the country. I assume a lot of people feel that way about you guys. Good for you. It's well-deserved. It's earned. Sucks that you got to go be a bungle. So enjoy this. Not a lot of success coming for the next 3 to 10 years after this season. My last two, 5 and 6, not in, but good football teams. Georgia Bulldogs. I like the way Jake Fromm, State Farm, plays football. I said that on game day during a segment that was brought to you by Geico. Yikes. That's tough. And number 6, my second team that's out, not in. The Baylor Bears. Sick 'em. Got a chance to call their first game where they started this winning streak in the Texas shootout against Texas Tech when Cliff Kingsbury was still a college football coach. Me, A.J. Hawk, Sean Kelly called that thing down in Jerry World. They beat the hell out of Texas Tech that game. Haven't lost since. They've just gone on to win every game. Close games, tough games, tight games. Their big players show up, and in a Big 12 matchup against Oklahoma that's coming is going to determine a lot. If Baylor can remain undefeated in one of the Power 5 conferences, which I think they have the wherewithal to win those close games, they compete down there now. That is a team that gets after it. Coach Rule and his staff get after it down there. If they can continue to win, you got to have them in the conversation. Georgia and Baylor are my 2 out, my top 4. 1 LSU, 2 Ohio State, 3 Clemson, 4 Minnesota. Debate it, battle it. I'm a college football analyst. You're not. Remember that.
No, you can poke any holes in it.
Can't. How sound is that?
I mean, Baylor, if they win out, they will, because the Big Ten's going to cannibalize itself. One of those teams will be done in the Big Ten championship. If Baylor wins the Big 12 championship, they'll be in.
Undefeated?
Yeah. There's no way you can keep
Want to
them
hear
out.
something funny? I was looking at last week's rankings.
By the way, College Football Playoff Committee would keep them out.
Yeah, they didn't have them in the top 25 last week.
Who?
Baylor.
Yeah, Baylor in the AP is currently 12th. Minnesota's currently 7th. So they have them quite a little bit lower. But a lot of these rankings, I mean, you get so captured by these national television games that happen every single week. You know, the SECs, the powerhouses, a couple ACC games, Big Ten games. Hey, the Big 12 still exists. They got a lot of money and a lot of tradition, a lot of history. I think there's more than 12 schools in there, so that's interesting. But, I mean, it's a very powerful conference that might have lost its luster because of the Oklahoma loss to Kansas State. That kind of hurts the entire Big 12. But Baylor doesn't look like they're losing a game in sight. They look like they're going to continue to get hot. Got them at 6, got Georgia at 5.
Maybe better yet if they win out and don't make it, because then they can institutionalize your playoff format. Because then it's like, you know, well, what winning the Big 12 championship doesn't do anything for you.
So the Big 12 doesn't even matter? We know the American Conference doesn't. We know that MAC doesn't. We know that the Pac-12 doesn't in a lot of people's eyes. The Big 12 doesn't matter either? What type of game are we playing if the Big 12 championship means nothing? The Pac-12 championship means nothing. The American Conference championship means nothing in this current formula. The current formula is every game matters until you lose one. Every game matters if you're in a larger conference. I think it's only a matter of time before it's 8 teams that make it into the playoff. 5 champions of the Power 5 and then 3 at-large bids. That can take care of any one-loss teams that you still want to see in there. That can take care of a UCF team that gets hot in the American Conference. Everybody's like, put them in there, put them in there. Bang, here you go. Welcome to the show. You got to play number 1 right now, see how it goes. It would make it easier. More money, more games, more opportunity, much fairer. I think you have to go to 8 games, or 8 teams. 4 games, obviously. Do the math. 2 teams per. Power 5 conference champions, 3 at-large bids.
Hey, also, shout out to the team that started this all off, invited you to training camp. Cincinnati. They only have 1 loss, and it's to Ohio State.
Ooh. Coach Fickle down there and the boys got a real good one. They lost their athletic director in the bone. The Bone goes to USC.
Did he officially go?
Yeah.
Yep.
The Bone's a friend of ours. Go for Cincinnati. But those at-large bids, for instance, those are things that they can discuss. Let the old whites in there that are discussing the college football playoff. Give them at least an opportunity to make it right with the Power 5 conferences and the 3 at-large. Because if not, you're always going to get subjective in there. You're always going to have personalities and people that like things more than other things. If the Big 12 champion goes undefeated and doesn't get in, there's a problem. Not only with college football, but with the Big 12, who's been selling a dream to a lot of people for a long time. I mean, remember, WVU, the Big East left. The Big East collapses. WVU goes to the Big 12 because they're told, hey, you can win a championship here. That's why. Baylor goes undefeated in the Big 12 and doesn't get in. That would be tough to explain.